All right, the next thing we can talk about is area. So we can go with our cubic millimeter, our millimeter squared, it's about that. We can go with our centimeter square, it's about that. Our meter square is slightly bigger than this whiteboard because this is 900 by 600 millimeters. So we go to the meter square. All right, that's good if you're buying some floor covering or something. If we want to measure land, we talk in meters square. So let's say my block of land is 800 meters square. So I know that that's going to be around 20 meters by 40 meters. Very easy. Okay. If I'm talking about a farm, we have another unit of measure which is called a hectare. It's 100 meters by 100 meters. A hect. A-C-R-E. A hectare. So this is what we'd measure the size of farms in. And there is 100 of those per square kilometre. Okay, so we covered the hectare. The next measure that we use all the time is 100 times bigger than that. It's 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre. And we call this, would you believe, the kilometre squared. Okay, so we know 100 metres times 10, we're going to get 1,000 meters. So inside this kilometer square, we then have 100 HAs or hectacres. Okay, so when we talk about countries, Australia at low tide is 7.7 million square kilometres. And just for comparison, say the United States is, the contiguous United States is 8 million kilometres squared. So when we have numbers like that, how do we compute such a massive number? Well, because it's all metric and it's all decimal, it's very easy. So when we talk about massive numbers like millions of square kilometres, we know a million's 1,000 times 1,000. Australia at low tide is around 7.7 million. So we've got 2,000 by 3,850 kilometres would make Australia rectangularised at that size. The contiguous United States is 8 million. So 4 times 2,000 equals 8 million, so that is the contiguous United States, slightly bigger than Australia. But because it's metric and it's all multiples of decimals, it's easy to work out and it's easy to think like that. Let's talk about the next thing that we can measure in the metric system, and that is temperature. And our temperatures all start with the same as our volumes. They all start with a product we use every day that Americans call water. Okay, H2O. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we start with a little product called ice. I'm not talking about booger sugar, I'm talking about cold water that has gone hard. And then at the other extreme, we've got a water that has turned into a gas, we call that steam. Is it AM? Okay, we've got ice, we've got steam. All right, so everything in between is liquid. So if we start the scale here at ice, we can say ice forms at 0, and we can say steam forms at 100 degrees. So there basically every bit of temperature fluctuation that we normally experience in the comfortable home is somewhere in between there and there. At the moment, I've ditched my big jacket because in our house at the moment, it's around 25 degrees. So that is 1/4 of the temperature it takes to make steam. Okay, 50 degrees, that's a hot day in the desert in Australia. These kind of degrees, we're talking sauna temperatures. But that is what the decimal temperature scale is based on. And it's the point that water boils at sea level, because it changes how high up and down a mountain you go. That's temperature. With our metric system, it's very, very easy to go big. So if I start with my cube of water, that's 1 metre by 1 metre by 1 metre, and that equals a tonne. Okay, if I want to go real big, I can just times that by 1,000, and I have a kilotonne. If I want to times that by another 1,000, I've got a megatonne. Okay, if I'm talking about how much water is in a massive dam, I can start with cubic meters for my swimming pool. Probably going to be about 60 for the average. That's got to be a 3. That's your average swimming pool. Okay, 2 meters deep. What do we got? 6 meters long and 5 meters wide. Does that equal 60? Something like that. Okay, that's a swimming pool, 60 cubic meters of water in there. All right, so if I want to go big, you got to go big or go home. If we're talking about how much water is in a dam on a farm, we're probably going to talk in litres times 1,000. And then we get kilolitres. Now, that's a rare event that farmers talk in that, because they like to talk in litres times 1,000,000, which is megalitres. And if I'm real serious, if I'm building a massive dam, we could talk in cubic kilometres. That's quite a big dam if it's got a cubic kilometre of water in it. But that's how we can go big. We can go K times it by 1,000, M times it by 1,000,000.